Good morning. You may turn on your videos if you have a video facility. Hi. Hello.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. It's a small group, so while we are waiting, we can have a chit chat. So you're Raina? Is that your?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you dialing from, Raina?
Ma'am, I am currently studying in Terry SAS.
Okay.
And yes, ma'am. I'm doing a master's in water science and management.
Oh, fantastic! Lovely to have you. And so that's in Delhi, Terry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, fantastic. And Madhvi, is that your name?
Hi, Dr. Bhakti. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I am Madhvi and I'm based out of Gurgaon.
Okay, and you are you can not have play the video for a little while.
Ma'am, actually, there is some tragedy in the family, so and I have joined the session prior to that. So that's
really sorry to hear. You're always welcome to join another session if it is difficult to join today. So please feel free because we have multiple options as I told you. So please feel free to choose if you want to choose another day.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, some preparations are happening in the background, so I'm choosing not to open the video.
Sure. No problem. But I hope you can participate because one thing I forgot to convey is that better to have a laptop rather than a mobile phone because that will make the participation much better. So that's something just bear in mind. And if you need to, you can come back to another book for another session. You can attend today as much as you can, but if you want, you can book the other session dates. Okay.
Thank you. Yes,
no worries.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Aditya. Welcome. Requesting to put your video on for a little while so that we can, connect. Okay. I'll wait for you. Hi, Aditya. Good morning. Can you hear?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Aditya. Welcome. And I was just requesting to open the video while we are trying to get to know each other.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Just check. I thought it's a small group, so we can have a little bit of a chit chat before.
Yes.
So where are you dialing from?
Sure. I'm from Mangalore, ma'am. I come from a agricultural background.
Oh, nice.
I work as a education consultant in Mangalore.
Okay.
And my farm is around 50 kilometers from here. And I was interested in this water
conservation
project.
Yes.
Yeah, conservation, because I have water source in my farm, natural spring water.
Fantastic.
So I thought, can I get some knowledge to spread about water conservation, how we can protect these pure water?
Absolutely.
What awareness we can do and how we can improve it further, or can we build the water table better instead of drilling bore wells everywhere?
And when you start
what
farming,
we can do.
When you start farming, you actually come face to face, and the feedback loop is very quick compared to when we are living in a city. We don't really get to know about the water stress. We do need to know after a long time. So that is the good thing about actually working on farm and working with plants.
I want to know what is Jal Smruti and how it started. I've not gone through any of your website. I just registered.
In fact, our website is down, so in a way, it's
okay.
So that's not a problem. I'll be including that as part of the presentation. So you probably didn't. Have you gone through the pre-reading material a little bit, That was a very brief.
I took that pre-test.
Yeah.
I took that pre-test. That's
Not
it.
test,
I
that's
didn't
a
get
session.
any.
Pre-reading session. There was a pre-reading slide deck. So you have to check that. That's
Oh,
okay.
no.
I'll take you through that now very quickly. But I wanted you all to pre-read so that, sometimes things take a while to absorb new things. So if you've already seen it, and then I show you, it's faster. It's a little bit better because, we need 3-4 times of viewing before things sink in, especially new things, right? So,
True.
Good morning, welcome Muthu. Muthu is part of our Jal Smruti management.
Okay.
So I welcome Muthu. Please, you can turn the video on we are in the chit chat mode right now.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Bhakti. I'm just listening in. I have some babysitting duties to do. So I'm doing multitasking. So kindly, I'll keep my mic on the mute so that there is no disturbance.
No problem. But just in the beginning, if you can open the video to, say hello to the participants, that will be good.
We'll see baby also.
Yeah, that's right. Just a short. Are you able to hear?
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. He may not be even attending.
Yeah.
No problem.
Oh, we can hear the baby.
We would love to see if whenever you are able to show you and Omaja. Okay. I think there was one more person, 5 I saw people, but that's okay. We can start. So welcome again. Raina, just to let you all know, I spoke to her. Raina is from Delhi. She's studying her master's in Terry. And Madhvi is in Gurgaon. I didn't get to know. Madhvi, what did you say you are doing or studying or working? What is your situation? Okay, she's also having something going on in the background, so that's okay. So welcome again. So I will, initiate by the presentation. I'll just let me share it with you. So as this, first of all, it's a welcome to this training we are doing for making you all water conservation ambassador. So it's very focused on conserving water. So, and also making you ambassador. And what does being ambassador means? I'll, explain as we go along. So I'll just take you through quickly about who's Jal Smruti and, what are the linkage of water conservation with global programs and climate change. And what is it about natural water cycle that, we can learn from about water conservation? And also, then we'll come down to our ground to see what's happening around us and what is the future looking like.
Okay.
Okay, so just to tell you about Jal Smruti, we are a very young, 2-year young Section 8 nonprofit company. And our vision is water positive community. Like that's our vision. We want to see in the future people, all community members are water positive, and I'll explain what water positive means. They're actively, the community themselves are actively making and keeping our Bharat, our India water positive. And when we say water positive, it means that how much are we, if we're giving back to nature more water in a good quality, in acceptable quality, than we take from nature, then we are being water positive. So what that means is at some point we need to start taking account about how much are we giving, how much are we taking. And we'll come to that as well. But this is what water positive, because at the moment, largely, we only think about where can I get my water from. We never think or talk about where am I giving water back. Okay, so that means we are right now water negative, not even neutral. So negative is when you take back, you take more than you give. And neutral is you give and you take equally. But what we really want to do and we can do is to make, give more than what we take. So we'll talk about that. And how do we try to create, how are we trying to realize this vision? To realize this vision, because it's about making the community water positive and take water positive action, we want to empower the water using community with training, tools and techniques so that they can take informed and inspired action. Because it's not just enough to have information. We also need inspiration. And we want to do that. We want to do both, inform and inspire, to become water positive. Okay, so with that introduction briefly, and you'll get to know more about Jal Smruti, because this training is the beginning of a relationship we are building for long term. It is not just a training and we are saying, goodbye. It's up to you how much you want to build that relationship. So don't worry, because if you don't get to know everything in this training, because it's an ongoing journey. So that's why I won't dwell a lot on Jal Smruti okay. And briefly, I will tell you about myself. My name is Dr. Bhakti Devi. I have trained as a civil engineer and also environmental engineer, because I did my master's in environmental engineering. And I worked initially as a water engineer, designing treatment plants, process design, rainwater harvesting, etc. And then my career took a turn and I became more involved with water strategies, water planning from a sustainability perspective. And that really, kind of opened my eyes and mind, and also a very interesting area, because it allowed me to think big picture while utilizing my engineering skills. And I also worked basically 30 years, I worked in the water sector, and 25 years out of that has been in Australia, very dry continent, and I learned a lot. Especially most of my work in Australia has been community-based sustainable water management. How can you get community to take those actions which are required to be taken? So that's what I'll say. And then 5 years ago, I relocated to India only with the mission of doing this in India. And I spent, out of the 5 years, first 3 years researching on ground what exactly is the situation with urban, what with rural. And only after that, 2 years ago, I founded Jal Smruti. We have 4 more directors apart from me. And at some point, I will talk to you about the directors as well. But for now, this is sufficient information. Okay. So when we talk about water conservation, as I said, it is kind of about how much can we, conserve, which means how much can we take less and give more, right? And so I just want to quickly say what are the linkage to the global programs, because we hear about them. We need to know where the connection is. And you may already know about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, where, number 6 goal is dedicated to water. And there are some targets attached to that. I would encourage you to go and read about them. So, some of the things I will skip quickly because it's easy to find the information. So I won't dwell a lot. And I would say that as a person who has worked in the water sector deeply for this long, putting water on number 6 out of the 17 goals seems like not doing justice to any of the goals. And the reason is, I feel that, most of the goals, all 17 goals get unlocked only when you have good water conditions. So in a way, SDG 6 is the key to unlocking all the other goals. So why would you put it on number 6? But anyways, be that as it may, every goal is important, but it is also true that if you don't attend to water, the education goals also suffer, because without having good water and sanitation facility within a school, there are dropouts. Children drop out of school, they don't attend as much, and all that gets affected. In the same way, every goal, if you go through, you'll find that not having water is going to put, slow down the achievement of that goal. So that is very important for us to know. And the other program, which it's very exciting, that United Nations has declared in 2020, a decade, it's a decade, we are in the decade of ecosystem restoration. And it is very exciting. I'll explain to you why, because ecosystem restoration is very, very important, and it is linked to local water cycle restoration. And there is a recognition that at the root of all the environmental, and once you have an environmental problem, so social and economic problems are bound to have result, because everything is interlinked. And the basis is always, the root is always the environment and the planet, which we as humans, kind of forget. And that's why we are in the state where we are. But hey, we are humans. We are allowed to make mistakes and learn from the mistakes and keep moving. So the idea is to let's learn from what has happened by properly reflecting. And this is what has happened, that, people have understood that ecosystem restoration is important, and they've given a decade of it for the, putting it in front of our mind. So that is, again, there are some video, there's a short video that explains, you can watch that, at your own. I wouldn't play it right now because there's a lot we need to cover. So I'm going to skip that. So I just want you to know that, this is what it is. And the next thing is, it's water conservation. So that's why ecosystem and water conservation are linked, because ecosystem restoration is dependent on the local water cycle restoration. And again, we'll talk about what is local water cycle, what is restoration, all that. The next thing is, what is its linkage, water conservation linkage to climate change? Because when we hear about climate change, all we tend to hear about is carbon, fossil fuel is the focus. However, I want you all to know that it is not, climate change is not only about fossil fuel. And let us understand why. So there's a video. This one I will definitely play. Especially there's one video which explains, there's a way we explain climate change through carbon. That, how carbon is, emissions have become more, and these are the different sources of carbon emissions, and therefore they create a greenhouse gas, and that has, giving rise to these changes to the climate. Okay, and that's what. But then there's another view that how the humans have treated ecosystem has resulted in the change. So when we say climate change, what exactly do we mean? What we mean is, as we know, it is about lots of floods happening, too many droughts, temperatures increasing. These are climate changes, right? So then if these are climate changes and we are saying carbon is responsible, which is not incorrect, that's one way to look at climate change. But then another way to look at climate change is, what have we done to the ecosystem has resulted in these climate changes, which is floods, droughts, and temperature rises broadly, and everything else connected to that. So that is one video, but I want to play the video which is talking about, yes, carbon is one way to look at it, because that gives you an answer to, okay, you have to reduce carbon emissions by doing these things. The fossil fuel has to be reduced. These actions have to be taken wherever carbon has to be reduced. In this conversation, what gets forgotten is there is another way to solve the climate change issue. But if we only focus on water, we miss on the other way. And that's what the second video is showing, which is called the water paradigm, or the way to look at climate change from a water perspective. That how we humans destroying the water cycle has resulted in climate change, which means the solution is also restoring the water cycle. And why is it more, I believe it's more exciting to talk about solving water, the climate change through restoration of water cycle, because when you start restoring local water cycle within a local area, you start seeing changes in the climate, in the microclimate immediately. But when you talk about a global perspective, people are not inspired to take action, because they think that if I do this, how is it going to change? Like, it's going to take a while. I don't see the change. So it's always that problem where people are not able to connect. Not as many people are able to connect. But when you take a water view, the actions, when you start taking them, you see immediate results in the form of your own local climate. And when you start encouraging everyone around the world to do that, the climate change can be reversed. That's the point of this video, and let's watch it. And I want you to, So that's the key, that healing the earth is very important in reversing the climate change. Yes, fossil fuel reduction is important and we need to focus on, not denying that. But if you only focus on that, that is not enough. And that is also not inspiring people, not having control on what is it that I can do, right? In a visible way. If you want to see the impact, you can start seeing the impact by actually working on healing the planet, healing the earth, by actually restoring the local water cycle. Again, more details as we go. So this is something very important to understand. Oops. Oh, what happened? It's very, just a minute. Yeah, okay. So now let's come to understanding what exactly is natural. Because if you're talking about restoring the local water cycle, is the way, I mean, that is, we can learn a lot from the way water has been designed by nature to be. It is always how nature is conserving water from many, many years. And what's the process that keeps water conserved on our planet? That is what is going to give us the clue about how can we restore and conserve water. And if we don't pay attention to that, then we are really missing out on major things. So water conservation literacy. So literacy is all about getting to really understand something in a way that you become very fluent in your actions. Okay, just like if you're literate in a language, you become fluent and you can actually get the job done. In the same way, when you become fluent in water conservation, you also have to become fluent about understanding the natural water cycle. And this is something I feel, even as a professional who has spent 30 years working on water, sustainable water management. I worked only on sustainable water management, but never does this narrative about sustaining water is about sustaining water cycle. We never talk about it. We only focus on water. And that is where the problem is the problem. So that's why understanding water cycle is extremely important. So now we have some understanding of the water cycle. I call it the partial understanding. But what we need to develop is the full understanding. So when you say partial understanding is the way you get introduced to water cycle in a school, at school level, you may recall the typical thing we remember when we say water cycle from the school memories is a circle that shows, water evaporates, forms cloud, then it condenses, the cloud condenses, and it rains, and it goes back. The cycle is on and on. But really, that's a very partial understanding, because this water cycle diagram is only talking about how the water is just traveling at a big scale. That's it. It is really missing out on some very important and critical elements within nature which interact with water, and that's what keeps the water cycle going. If it was just this, that's not enough to keep the water. The way we see water in our own world is not only because of this process. There are some processes missing which have to do with the interaction of water with what I call jal, as we know as water in Hindi, and jungle and jameen, the soil and vegetation. So there are videos which Claire, really tell you how the water cycle is, actual full understanding of the water cycle is by understanding that the forest, we think, the blue needs the green, we say, right? But the green also is needed for the blue, because we do not understand how rain is formed. We tend to believe subconsciously or consciously that we have no control on rain. We are just, like we have to just get the rain that we receive. But no, the reality is that the way the rainfall pattern has changed, it is because of human actions. Because of not understanding, not acknowledging, not appreciating the fact that when you cut down trees and forests, particularly forest and trees, they are, and all vegetation, in fact, all vegetation in a forest setting, they contribute largely to the rainfall in a local area. And when that gets destroyed, the rainfall patterns seriously get disturbed. And that's when the cycle of the climate change begins. And so that is important to know. So that video you must watch. Also, another role that the interaction plays is the way the vegetation is and the way the soil is determines how much of the water will seep under the ground. And look at the design, how nature has designed water. Out of the, if you entire, whatever small percentage of fresh water, we have only 3% of fresh water, 70% exists as, 67% exists as in a frozen form, which is not like easily available as water because it's frozen. The remaining 31%, 30% is available as groundwater. Only 1%, in fact, less than 1% is available as surface water. Why has nature designed it so? To protect the water from the evaporation. So if you have more water surface, it will get evaporated. So the way the nature has designed it is that you have a bank and it will release water on needs basis on the surface. That is how the soil interacts with water. That while water infiltrates, it also seeps under the surface, under the bottom of the lakes and the rivers to keep it flowing 12 months, even when the rain monsoons are gone. This, again, nobody understands because it's invisible, it's hidden. And we just focus on the surface water. When you capture surface water, you only think, how much can I capture it in my dam? Without thinking that water in the dam is going to run dry if we have not allowed the water to seep in. And if you have removed all the mechanisms for water to infiltrate, yes, you can capture water in the dam or wherever you are, trying to stop the water at the end because you're focused on surface water. You'll also capture all the topsoil with it, and your dam will be full of mud and water, which will dry out in a few months because there's nothing available under the ground to seep, to continue to nurture that surface water. So this is very important, and nobody understands and talks about it. And so Jal Smruti has made it it's our mission. That is the only reason I decided that, we need to found it, because no other NGO or any organization explicitly talks about it. And even in our water management thinking, we focus on water, water, water. We never bring in the vegetation. We never bring in the conversation on soil and to identify actions. We only focus on the actions around water. And that's a serious problem. If we want to, as they say, the mindset that is caused the problem, if you use the same mindset to solve it, it's not going to solve. If the mindset has been all about water, 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 that's why we are in this situation, because we fail to recognize the Jal Jangal Jameen relationship. Then if you continue to ignore that and you want to move forward, good luck. It is not going to happen. So that's very important. Again,
may I just add a point here?
Please.
Muthu here.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
1 minute.
So I think it's even as I listen to you, even though
Yes.
I have read many of your inputs,
Yes.
a lot of learning about the Jal Jangal Jameen trio.
Yes.
Fortunately, the Telangana government, somewhere I read about how Amazon forest, the trees in Amazon forest create their own rainfall. Correct. Even before the ocean, 2-3 months before the ocean winds are picked up for condensation. Yes. So they have their own way of creating rain for themselves.
Yes.
And that is one thing. And then the Telangana government, from the inception for the last 8-9 years, they have this Harita Haram. They have been focusing only on tree plantation. Mm-hmm. Even all the engineers and everybody is fed up because the government insists on planting trees. Every year they have been given very stiff targets.
Yes.
And they always complain in the cities, especially, that where is the place to add more trees?
Yes.
Even 2 weeks back, for Kamareddy, where we are working, the CM's personal secretary had come to check how many trees were actually planted because the CM might contest from there.
Right.
That is the kind of focus at least one of the states is having on. Yeah. In tree plantation, they have done fantastic task, even in Hyderabad for that matter.
Yes. I think it's very important because India's tree canopy, if you count the trees per person, is very low. But again, I want to also be very mindful because especially, I don't blame the politicians. There are some good things they do now. This is a very good thing that they're focusing on trees. But, it sometimes comes across as a silver bullet that trees are the solution. And of course, after COVID, even more that, we know tree and oxygen connection. So suddenly the demand for trees and tree plantation has gone up. It's important to understand, and that's why engineers get frustrated. Unless you give the rationale that, it is not just trees, by the way, any vegetation, even grass contributes. And it's not only in Amazon forest that the rains happen. Everywhere the rains are happening because of vegetation. And we have lost the rainfall because we have destroyed the vegetation. Is made up of grass, shrubs, like trees, all kind of vegetation that are native to the place. And it has to be clubbed together. It is not about having only trees. So this is very important to understand the science.
I think this is where even, terrace gardens,
yes,
nala gardens,
exactly,
and all sorts of green.
You can encourage vegetation. That's why vegetation is important. I try to not use the word trees because it gives a wrong idea that tree only makes up a vegetation. That's the only factor it contributes. No, any vegetation, and therefore encouraging all types of vegetation will be helpful rather than only trees. Secondly, you are not even including talking about soil, Jameen, because we can start improving the any open areas that are there. If you can't plant trees, you can have, improve the topsoil and make sure that, the topsoil is even making it porous so that you can introduce permeable, small gardens, small rain gardens, or even if it is required, having permeable concrete or permeable pavers wherever it's impossible. So these things have to be understood in a very holistic way rather than as a silver bullet that trees only or water only. So that's not good. For example, right now we talk about blue-green infrastructure. Again, it is being promoted although the intention is right, but it's being promoted as a prescription, just blue and green, as if it's like a cosmetic change you need. No, the whole idea of blue and green is exactly that. The reason is restoring the local water cycle through the whole relationship. And again, the nature-based solutions. Why? You have to explain why nature-based solutions. Because we want to restore the natural water cycle using the nature-based solutions. It is not just a prescription, because nobody likes to be prescribed. If I explain to you the rationale, now you will come up with solutions yourself. That is what is about facilitating. It's not about preaching that, you should do this. No. Understand the reason. Now you come up with solutions. Now you know the reason. Now you come up with your own solution wherever you can. That's the idea. So please do read, watch these. These are very short clips, 3-minute clip, 2-minute clip, so that you can really understand the reason behind why we are here. And it also gives you the solution for where to go from here. Okay, so we move. Thank you, Muthu, for that, sharing that, because it really puts things in practical context. So that's very important. I'm always struggling when we move with this, because whenever there's a video, it doesn't let you move without playing back. Okay, so now we come to today's reality. So that's all about the bigger reason or the science behind the problem. That was what I explained. Now let us look at, that's a natural science behind the problem. Now, when you zoom in back into our own cities, we want to really understand, because in the city, the water is not available to us only as a natural way. We are also receiving water in engineered way. So we need to understand what is it about the system that we've created, the engineered system, that has contributed to the problem. Because as I said, we must acknowledge, take stock, contemplate, reflect, so that we are not making the same mistake as we move forward. That is the reason for looking back before we look forward. So in this, I'll just quickly take stock of the facts and figures. I'll quickly run past it because we don't need to spend time. You already know. And also, what I'll spend time on, what are the key factors that have led us to this crisis that we experience today? And what are the solutions? Because it's important to also talk about, once we understood the problem and what we need to do, then we want to see what are the solutions people have come up with, and therefore then even then what is the problem? If there are solutions already there, what is then the problem? What is really a problem, right? That is what we'll talk about. So this is, as you know, I've already told this. Let me quickly. So we know that there is less than 1% surface water, 30% groundwater out of the fresh water. But overall, there's only 3% fresh water on our planet. So these are the breakdown. And also we know the demand for water is because of the food that has to be supporting the population. Industry that has to produce all the goods to support the population. So the water use is not within only what we see, what we use on a daily basis, but it's also to all the things that have to require to be produced. What I have not included in this is water footprint. So every thing we eat has water embedded in it. Everything that we wear and use, everything has got water in it, like water was used to make it. So we need to be conscious of that virtual water, which we don't see. But basically, the global water demand is made up of all that food and the industry and the domestic. So then in terms of our own country, so when we come back to India's situation, what is it? So we have, again, the water demand is approaching a point where, we won't have water available to that extent. As you can see, what is predicted in 2050 is 1228 is the annual per capita availability of cubic meters of water, whereas our demand will be significantly higher. And that is why we are reaching a stage where it is going to be water, as I said, negative at an India national level as well. So that's important to, really take stock, and because that's what ultimately plays out as water stress. Again, these are the figures for how in India things are. Of course, as the population grows, the needs grow, and the water demand will always grow. Same with the city. In a city, why always there's a catch up. There's not enough water, because by the time they plan for the new population and build, the population has grown further, because there's no way we are able to cap the population of a city. So that's the reality. So that's what we are dealing with. And this is the result. So we have today more than 50%, areas facing high to extremely high water stress. And on top of that, we also have more than 100 million people not having access to good quality water. They have water, but it's of poor quality, which is also counted as water stress. Because water stress is when you can't access clean water. That's basically the definition. So the current state of, so again, this is what the figures are. Oh, sorry, it's a repeat. And every city, you will see that it's the same story, that the supply is, less than what is needed. And as I said, that's because the planning cycle always is lagging, because by the time it's finished, the new population has come. And of course, as you can see, the bigger the city, bigger the gap between supply and demand, because it's growing at a faster rate. That's the reason. And therefore, we get this situation, which is already happening in Delhi and all the metro cities, where, people who are not, living in apartments, they actually see this problem on a daily basis, that they have to fight for water from the water tankers. Whereas in the case of affluent people, they don't see the problem, because someone is fetching their water tanker to fill the underground tank, and they get their water in the tap. They don't even see that, the apartment complex or the commercial building has to buy water from the tankers. So these are hidden away, because, that's the way water system works in a city. We don't, the feedback loop is much, much delayed. We don't see it, and we don't touch it, and we don't feel it until it's really become too bad. So that's the danger, because we have a false sense of security. Now, another thing to note is that, why is the water demand increasing? Yes, population is high, but if the population that is using water is very wasteful, they don't understand how to use less water and still achieve what you want to achieve, then you're going to have a double problem. Population is increasing, and on top of that, their practices and the behavior and the mindset is water wasting. Then you have like a double whammy, as they say. That's not going to help. And then the situation now in the cities is that they don't have capacity to treat all of the water that comes out as sewage. That's also causes pollution, because where does that water go? It goes into the water bodies, which are either the rivers or the ponds in the local area, which would have otherwise recharged the groundwater, but now they become polluted. So you are kind of caught in a vicious cycle where you are increasing the demand is, taking the water away. And whatever water is also available, potentially you could use it in the future, that is getting polluted because you do not have the capacity to treat the sewage. So again, there's another, problem has created more problem. So that's the situation, and that's why we have utilizable water, but again, it's not available because it's not in a good condition. So just want to share quickly, Bangalore is a very typical story that we can all learn from, because I believe that what is happening in Bangalore is what you can expect to happen in all towns and cities. Simply because Bangalore, it happened earlier because it grew faster, but all towns and cities at some point will face what Bangalore is facing, and that's why it's important to understand to what extremes. So the question to ask is, Bangalore, we try to grow it because of all the, nice things about the economic growth, IT park, lots of jobs, very good, sounds good that we are really advancing in certain areas. But then to what extremes do we go pursuing our greed by ignoring water system? Yes, we need to grow economically, but why do it at the cost of water and the natural resources? And what happens when we do ignore? This is what you get to see in Bangalore. So in Bangalore, the situation is that, the Kaveri River that feeds, that is the main source of water for the water supply in Bangalore, it is receiving, see, as I told you, the whole Jal Jangal Jameen relationship. You completely ignore the fact that the forest in the Western Ghats are the ones who are feeding the Kaveri River from the bottom. And if you keep chopping, so right now, more than 40% of the forest cover is gone. And what that does, that is not allowing more water to go underground, which is what feeds the Kaveri water. People don't understand that all rivers, most of the rivers in India are groundwater fed, which means that if you remove the forest, you remove the groundwater, and you dry this river. Simple as that. And then, but it is not talked about. It is not, spoken about. It's not discussed enough or never within the water management professionals as well. So what to speak of the, people who are common people? We can't blame them, because if the water management fraternity themselves don't recognize and talk about it enough, of course, we will be in this situation. And plus, what is another part of the story of Bangalore is that Bangalore is situated on a 900 meters above sea level, and it has to pump the water not only to a long distance of about 140 kilometers, but it also has to pump the water up. So imagine the amount of energy that is needed to take water all the way from Kaveri to the city and distribute it. It results in the Water Supply Board of Bangalore, BWSSB, which supplies water, 80% of their expense, of the organization's expense, is paying electricity bill to the electricity company of Bangalore. So that tells you how much water, how much unsustainable this whole bringing water from from far away. And then on top of that, you find that people are wasteful. So it's like a killer. And therefore, what has happened is, because the demand of Bangalore has grown so much so quickly that it cannot have city supplying its water. So many apartment complexes, when they fall short of, when they find the city water supply is not enough for them, what do? They start drilling bore wells to supplement the source. Sometimes in many big places, it's not even city has refused to supply, and they've said, look, we have no water to supply, so you can build you can do the development, but you have no water we can give you, and you are on your own. And then the builder drills these bore wells and shows them to the people buying the flats that yes, there's a water supply, there's bore well, and people want to believe that. And once they move in a year time, the bore well has dried up, because bore well gives you a false sense of security that the water will never run out. But then bore well, you have not recharged it, and not all bore wells are rechargeable. So you have taken the water maybe 1 year, 2 years, even sometimes 3 years, and now suddenly the water has gone dry. And then you drink another bore well, and another one, and then you find nothing is working. So this is the situation, and then you rely on the tanker water. So this is how it goes. And this is the story of Bangalore. And another thing what Bangalore has done, or the development or the economic development of Bangalore has done, is it has created a need for lots of buildings. Now, where do you build the buildings? Bangalore had about 600 odd lakes, more than 500 lakes. Every lake got refilled with, to build over on top of it and a building. And all these lakes were basically, designed to receive water from the rain, from the watershed, store it so that there's no flooding. And also it gives time for the water to seep in, infiltrate as groundwater, and make it available through lots of open wells that the city has. And now those city wells have been, closed down because borewell is more exciting. It gives you water under pressure, and open wells where actually you get rechargeable groundwater, you have turned it into a dump yard. And, this is what we have done as humans in a city. And this is a classic story so that we learn from it and we don't make these mistakes in another city. And again, the third thing we did was, so we made sure the Jameen was gone, the recharging was gone with the lake being rebuilt. We made sure that, now that all the trees are removed, because you want to build a building, where do you build? So you remove the lakes, you remove the trees, and look at the condition. This was in 1973, and in 2019, and it's got even worse, that you have all reds are entire, it's a hot city now, where it was a city of gardens, and now it's a city of heat. And of course, the groundwater has been depleting. So groundwater gone, the lakes have been built over, trees are gone, and you have fantastic IT smart city. And I call it smart city, IT smart and water dumb, because all these actions are nothing but, if you really think about it, they're dumb actions. If you knew that water has to be sustained in a way that doesn't destroy the groundwater and doesn't don't remove the trees, if you take account of that, you wouldn't make these mistakes. But then we have taken dumb actions. So this is again statistics. Built up areas increased more than 1,000%, like not 100%, 1,000%. Vegetation cover has declined 88%. Water bodies have gone. Ground level, again, no wonder, because it's like we have far exceeded the carrying capacity of the city. So we build and we build and we build. We chop down trees and we cover over lakes. As I said, we pump deeper and deeper. This is what we have resulted in. And this is the scene, a common scene, water being brought from various places into the city to sell. So what can we learn from our journey looking back? There's something about the way water is managed and perceived by us, right? So I think if you really look at what have we done as water companies, as planners and water users, there is something to learn from that. And why even the action of water companies and planners is learnable for users, because as we move forward in the future, we are our own water utility, we are our own water planners. So we better learn from the utilities and planners what is it that we shouldn't repeat as a community, because the future is all about community taking ownership and managing their own water, and and understanding that it is doable is empowering. So what has as I said, keep a watch on the lesson and on the action, because that's a lesson for us as well, as individuals, as community as well. So what has the water system, the current water system is designed to be very large, centralized, bringing water from far away to the city. And of course, it was not a wrong thing. Like, it was a thinking with a good intention, with a very engineering mindset, that how efficient you can be. So when a city grows, how can you efficiently, immediately supply water to the new population? So when a city grows, then you simply extend the pipe. So you keep extending the pipe and you can have a centralized system. So that's why the centralized system was all about start from a place and keep expanding by expanding, branching out the pipes. And in the process, it has become so large that the city is grown and all the older pipes are buried under the ground because that's how the water supply network works. And now you can't even change or repair those pipes, even though they need to be repaired. They're more than 100 years old, and there are some new pipes and they're far away from the source. So all these problems make it, it's a linear system, because all it does ultimately, the reason you can extend these pipes and keep supplying is because your whole system is designed around extract the water, use it, and then from another set of pipes, dump it somewhere, either, treated or untreated. So that's how you can describe a city's water system. You extract, you use, and you dump. And there's a set of pipe that allows you to brings the water to you after extraction. There's another set of pipes that takes the water after you've used it. And the user, as a water user, has to not know about anything. They only need to open the tap and use water. That's it. But then there's a linear system. And the population rises, new supplies, again, have more water, extract more water, use and dump. And so that's the only thing we have been doing. And what do you expect will be the result? You'll have less of fresh water and more of polluted water, because it's unsustainable. So what's the lesson that water users can learn from this? Are we also doing the same thing, extract, using and dumping? Because if we have created, if the city supply runs out, what do? We drill a borewell, we extract, we use, and then if it runs out, you extract again, you drill another borewell, or you buy from the tanker. So all you're worrying about is, where do I get water from? And I just need to know how to dump it. As long as I know that, I'm good with water. That's the belief. And we have to stop thinking that way, because that belief is unsustainable, because it's a linear way of looking at water: extract, use and dump. Whereas in nature, water is circular, and we have to learn from nature. The second thing we know about the current water system is that it only focuses on increasing the supply. If a city grows, we only think about, the city planners and the water planners think about, how can we increase the supply? They do not, for example, if you have money problem, you look at how much you're spending and what is your income. And if you're having a situation where you are not able to meet your needs, you will evaluate your needs. You look at, where can I cut down my expenses, right? Apart from thinking, how can I increase my income, you also want to manage your expenditure. In the same way, there is a way that planners and the city water utilities can consider, how can we reduce the demand of water by the water using population? Because many of the what we found, the research that we did in Bangalore city, water stress city, that there is water inefficiency or wasteful behavior of water, which can cut down water up to 70%, 50 to 70% of water can be reduced. And sometimes it's 30 to 40% simply by improving the efficiency with which you're using the current water. You don't even have to create new water or recycled water. You just look at the way you're using the water. If you change it, you can cut down by 50%. That is how high the wasteful inefficiency is. So, but what happens if the water utility decides to reduce the demand through some ways? How do you do that? That's the second question. But first, you have to recognize that there is a potential to reduce demand. It's not only about increasing supply. If you want to supply water to a new population, you can do that by also managing the demand, not just by increasing the supply. So that's something that doesn't happen. And therefore, nearly 40 to 50% of water in the urban water system is lost to leakage and wastage through inefficient taps and fixtures and equipments. And the third thing is the way the current water system is. So the first one was that it is linear and unsustainable in design. Second was that, again, by design, we don't look at how to manage the demand. We only focus on, the system focuses on how to increase the supply. And the third thing is the system insulates water users. It just doesn't engage with the water users, because that's the way it's designed. It was designed to make sure that you don't have to worry about water. As I said, the intention was good, but it was not sustainable. That what it has done to the water users is that we have been lulled into complete ignorance. We have been rendered water illiterate. We have been rendered water unaccountable. So we suddenly now with the water crisis, if someone tells you, and that's now the new narrative which is not wrong, but it's just that it is the new narrative is told as if it's a very easy thing to do. We say that, community has to take ownership of water. You have to take ownership. You have to do. That's what the narrative of the government and the, public policy is moving towards, without even acknowledging that, is it that easy? Knowing that the system has conditioned the community to not know anything about water, to never count for water. And now you're saying that you manage the water? How does that work? I mean, at least acknowledging the complexity is important. So that's where Jal Smruti feels that we want to really help understand community, why we have to start managing water and how you can do it on your own. It's a change management process. We have to take people by hand. We need to hold hands to move the water using community to show how do you do it. And, policies are made without providing the tools for how to make that shift. So the current city planning ignores sustainability, water sustainability. But the good news is there are proven solutions that you can use at your own site. The water users can use on their own site, which is called on-site technology or decentralized technology, that can generate usable water on site and therefore reduce your import of water. Because if the city is becoming inefficient and running out of its water supply, on which it depends, then what are the water users supposed to do? Okay, because as I said, Bangalore is already saying you are on your own, but then what do you do? So knowing that there are proven solutions is a good news. And the best part is, and I'll just quickly take you through what are these solutions we're talking about. And mind you, these technological solutions, they help conserve water for the water user, and they are proven. So technically they have no problems. Financially affordable. They've also been made financially affordable by these people who provide these solutions so that it can sell better. But okay, so what are the solutions we are talking about? Smart water meter, because the research shows that as soon as you put smart water meter, it changes the behavior. And why smart water meter? The smart water meter allows you to charge people by how much water people are using rather than equally dividing a water bill. It says that if you use more water, you pay more. And that just immediately leads to behavior change. And what they have found is 20 to 30% of water that the apartment complex uses reduces as soon as they introduce smart water meter and a bill for every apartment. Then another technology is the low flow fixtures are now available, and each of them reduce 70 to 80%. So what you may be using right now from your kitchen tap reduces by 70 to 80%. And that overall brings about a reduction of 30 to 40% within the total water use. Then, of course, root water harvesting is a known thing. How does that? Because you are basically all the water that's coming on by the rain, and you're letting it go right now. If you were to harvest it and use it or recharge it, both ways you are earning more water and you're reducing your import of water. So that's something you can design into your existing in new buildings, but even in existing, you can retrofit them. All the solutions I'm talking about are retrofittable, but of course, if it's a new building, you can do even more. You can make 100% no import or zero water import. You can become completely water self-sufficient. And the fourth technology is what we call as managed aquifer recharge. So this technology looks at what kind of aquifer you have, what kind of borewell you have, and accordingly, if it is a rechargeable borewell, there's a different method. For a borewell that is not naturally rechargeable, there are ways you can engineer the recharge, and that's technology that is very much proven and existing. And the fifth technology is that there are so many different types of treatment solutions, treating the used water, whether it's gray water, whether it's sewage, doesn't matter in what you want to use as a starting point, but you are able to recover the water recovery technologies. So you're able to recover back water by removing the contaminants, and the variety of solutions are in the form of no chemical use, no engineer. If you have access to good skill, then you can use a high-tech technology because it uses small space. But then there are also solutions which are completely no running cost, odorless, small footprint. So you have all options are available right now in the market. So they also, once you introduce them, they reduce your water import 50 to 100%, depending on what is the stage of your building. So the question is, this was all information, okay? Now this information, I can add another information for you, that the research says that, we are not taking as much, water conservation measures are not being adopted as much. And even though we have affordable and financially affordable and proven solutions. So why is it that this is not happening? And how can you as water conservation ambassadors help? And that is why this whole training is about not just about water conservation, knowing about water conservation, it's about how can we facilitate. I've called it a facilitator. So that's where I want to start now. The next part of the presentation is about how can you help, and how can you help means how can you become a facilitator of this literacy? How can you facilitate literacy? That's very important to know. And so that, but I'll just pause here for a short time to say that if you have a question or if you need a break, you can take and come back. Maybe I'll give you a 5-minute break. But if you have any questions, please. I have not looked at the chat.
I just wanted to bring in a
yes.
point when you were highlighting about how ignorant and illiterate people have been insulated. There was a decision once when Dr. Jayalalitha was the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. In her second time she became the CM, she gave an ultimatum that everyone's ration card will be cancelled if they do not have water harvesting facility in their complexes, apartment complexes, and even individual houses. The entire state had just a few months' time. The entire state was given only a few months' time to set up water harvesting everywhere.
Right.
Because Chennai always used to have water negative status. Chennai always had water problems for many years. And then saline water, because of all the pumping from bore wells, the seawater used to come into the city. So that way, sometimes when the leaders give an ultimatum and action has to be taken. That is where, because in India you cannot facilitate and keep making people aware and trying to appeal to their good senses and all that. Give them a timeline and make them account, and then immediately things
that is
happen.
the power.
This is one of the case studies that I wanted to highlight.
So you can definitely, and that's very well put, that you, depending on the influence and the position you have, if you can utilize it in a positive way, we need to for some of these things. But the question is, like, as a water user, as we are not, if we don't have that influence and power, can we still do something? And yes, you can. And that's what this we want to talk about, is how can you influence actions from people around you, not the whole world, but the people around you. Can you influence? Yes, certainly you can. And in fact, it is best done peer to peer. Like if you talk about it and you say what you managed to do and you explain things, that has a more influencing power than an expert coming and talking about it. And that's the whole reason why Smruti decided to create this program, is that how can you individually become facilitative leaders, that you facilitate this change by learning how to facilitate first. Of course, part of that facilitating is you start making some changes, but how then you move forward and go beyond yourself and influence change in others. And yes, as the famous quote goes, be the change that you want to see. But there is more to being a change. You have to also actively facilitate it. It cannot happen by just only being. And that is what we want to really, show what to do and how to do it. Okay, so let me take you through this second part of the. So I wanted to also ask any other questions or comments other people had, or need a break, a short break. Say something. Yes, no. Silence is not.
So are we going to have till 11:30?
We may go a little beyond because we started a little late. But yeah, may go up to 12. So anybody has anything to say?
A little break maybe.
Yeah, 5 minutes break. And is everyone okay for 12 o'clock? Because we're not too many people anyway. So I'm feeling free to do that.
Okay.
Raina?
I had to leave at 11:30. I had another engagement.
No problem. That's fine, Muthu. Thank you. Yeah, because Raina?
Yes, ma'am, no problem.
No problem. What about Madhvi? Madhvi, anyway, you may be logging in another session. Are you there, Madhvi?
Yes, ma'am. I'm also fine, ma'am.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So I think let's take a 5-minute break. Come back at 11:15. This will be open. So you don't have to do so. Don't shut down anything. Just, mute yourself and go and come back at 11:15. Great. Thank you so much. Are you all back? Who's back and who's not? Muthu, are you there? Can I have a show of something, some emoji to say you are here? I have no idea.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's this?
Raina.
Raina?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Madhvi, are you there? Muthu? Okay. Wait for another 1 minute and I'll continue, okay? Because we don't have much time. Okay. Muthu is not critical because he already warned us. But Madhvi, I'll wait for her for another minute. Madhvi, are you there? Okay, let's start. Thank you, Raina, coming back. Welcome back. So, as I said, hi, who's that? Madhvi is back. Okay, so as I said, this is not just about water conservation. Of course, you need to first, to become a facilitator, you need to really understand the water conservation. That is one part. But the other part of the training is also about facilitating. How will we facilitate? What is facilitation? And why do we need to facilitate? What's so important about the whole action of facilitation? And then how do you do it? So these are the things we'll cover. Okay, so starting by what is facilitation? So facilitation, a very simple definition is, it's an art and science of guiding someone or a group of participants towards a common goal. Okay, so here the goal is making people literate about water conservation. But then how do you do it in a guiding way? And that's the trick. That's the art and science of it. And I found a very nice little clip I want you to watch. It's just a 1.5 minute clip where the lady is really nicely explaining in a very simple way, in a practical way, what is facilitation, so that you can imagine yourself seeing and doing that.
There's no audio enabled, I guess.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. So you should please let me know when this happens. So just a minute, I have to stop share and I have to share again. Share sound is important to click. And I'll go back.
Everyone wants to know, what does a facilitator do? Well, we've all been in a situation like this. A group of people who don't know each other very well, or perhaps don't even like each other very much, are expected to produce great results or consistently show up as a cohesive team. So what do you do when you facilitate? You're truly present for the group. You create this safe space for them to talk, collaborate, problem solve, make great and important decisions. You allow them to be both strong and tender with each other and towards you. And when you do that, you become a facilitative leader. For most of us, it's not that easy to do because we're not trained in this. We live in a world based on hierarchy. Think of it. Growing up, even our families are mostly top-down. Yet in these fast-moving, complex times, we're called to be more collaborative. And this is where we come in. We teach you the skills, presence, and tools needed to be great facilitative leaders.
So basically, that's what we are trying to do here. So as I told you that, let me go back to the presentation 1 minute. Just trying to figure out how to do that. Can you see, what can you read on the screen? Please, someone tell me. Can you please tell me what you're reading on the screen so I know you're...
Why do we need to facilitate? Why do we need facilitate?
Thank you, thank you. So basically, as I said, the water users, if you want to talk about spreading water conservation literacy, we know from looking back to understand what created the problem. So, and what is the problem? The problem is that the water users have become insulated, have become illiterate because of the way the things were. So it's like a conditioning. So, and then suddenly to say, you have to become, conserving, you need to manage water, you need to own water, you need to worry about water. That's something we have to empathize, that it takes a facilitation process. That is one reason why we need to facilitate it, not just, okay, that is one. Another is, it also has to start by literacy before they take action. So there is two types of facilitation. Facilitation as an organization, Jal Smruti is facilitating, trying to build tools at different stages, what is required. But at the very start, you need to start giving people a clear idea of why they have a problem and what is the problem, and the fact that they can take action. There are solutions. That is the point up to which we are helping you become that ambassador. After they're ready to take action, we have other things we can provide them to facilitate their actions. But what we are talking about is facilitating literacy, bringing them to a point where they're ready to take action. That is what we're talking about, but from the ambassadors. And that's a great, meaningful work you'll be doing in the community when you start becoming that facilitative leader. Right. And because we need many more of these ambassadors, we are seeing that, we don't want to make cost as a barrier. Can we just say, come and we'll show you how to do it, spread the word, teach people how to do it, and not just teach, it's facilitation, very important. So I want to go to the next slide. Okay, so why facilitation? Because what is opposite of facilitation? So in a facilitation, there's always a leader and an audience or a participant, right? So what is the leader doing when they're not facilitating? They're preaching, they're lecturing, there's a one-way communication, there's a PowerPoint slide being shown, right? And of course, I have to start with that because that's what I want to take you through a step-by-step process. And what is a participant doing when the leader is not facilitating? They're passively listening, they're not speaking up, they're not interacting. So this is the opposite of facilitation. So let us look at, what is currently happening in water conservation literacy. What is the current status? We have posters, we have slogans, we even have pledges, we have songs. But these are just the beginning, the starting point. That cannot result in change. It's a good start, very good start, but you need to do more. And what is that more? That is a question Jal Smruti is constantly asking. We ask ourselves, what is it that we need to do beyond these things? And that's where we come up with tools and techniques and things to offer so that people move beyond these slogans and posters. So for that, you have to understand how behavior, how does the behavior change happen? As I said, it's a slow process, it's a staged process. We want to understand how things change, how behaviors change, because here we are talking ultimately about changing behavior. right? So what happens is the way the behavior change happens is you start with an awareness, then you move to knowledge, you get some, you have to then start contemplating, because in order to change the behavior, I'm not talking about, we are talking how actually, if you were to reflect on your own journey of some behavior change you might have done in your own, personal life. It could be changing behavior for good health or changing behavior for something else. You can actually break it down to, you became aware that you need to change, you tried to gain knowledge about it, you even contemplated, you created an intention, then you are ready to take action. And after you take action, you also need to maintain that action. So these are the stages to start the process of behavior, take them through the stages and bring them to a point where you actually change the behavior through an action and maintain it. That's when the behavior change is sustainable. So what our model, the model in Jal Smruti is that, okay, if this is the stage, what can we do? What can we offer for creating awareness? This is all plenty of there already, information. Okay. The next part is knowledge, which is education, giving them a little bit more than just information. Because what I did today on the pre-reading material was an education. You got to know more about why water is life, why jal hai to kal hai, right? Much more than just information. Now you have to move towards, so how do you get people to contemplate? So we will have some, I'm going to give you an idea about what does it mean. By asking open-ended questions, you can make people think. And then what happens is the open-ended questions, what they do is they make you think, they make you answer the questions, and the answer lead you to your own conclusion. Now you have realized through contemplation that, yes, I think I need to think about it more and I need to do something about it more. At least you've started to think that process. Now you're owning the problem. The open-ended question, the aim is that you make people contemplate. You're not giving answers. You're making people think in order to arrive at their own answers and arrive at a point where they are able to realize it by answering it themselves, not because someone has told them, right? So that's the purpose of open-ended questions that we can create to make people contemplate. Then after contemplation, you will form an intention. Yes, maybe I should do something about it. So you can see it's not a very simple, straightforward process. You have to give people time and space. And that is by facilitation, because she talked about two things. You have to be present in the group. You have to give people a safe space where people are able to explore and, actually facilitate these answers for themselves. Then you create that intention. So that then the clarifying questions can help create intention. So there are questions you can ask in a way that helps them clarify. And that's what will help them to bring about an intention to change. Okay. And that's when the intention happens, then they're ready for action. But then once they're ready for action, what can we give them? Some tools to actually help them take action. Right? So that is the process. And once you build the tools and people have taken action, you build a community of them. You try to bring them together. So that's what we want to do, that by having these ambassadors, in the long term, we want to have more and more ambassadors being a part of the community. So we can make sure that we are sustaining, supporting, encouraging each other to keep doing what we are doing, right? Because that's very important to sustain the behavior. So this model is what we use for creating change, behavior change. So what we are in this session as an ambassador, you are going to experience all of this a little by little, so that when you start to do with a group of community, you know the process. So the process that I'm doing with you is what you will be slowly building up towards. And I will share, we have created ways of how to take you through step by step. So let's, understand, I'm giving an example of some open-ended questions, which, the purpose, what's the purpose of open-ended? To appreciate the problem and the problem behind the problem by reflecting on it. Okay. So one of the questions I want to ask is, and I want to use the mind map to, kind of jot down. I'll open the mind map. But I want to ask you, because we are not too many anyway, so I think we can do without the mind map also, is can you take a moment, just take a minute and tell me describe the way you have heard or you have first-hand experience of water crisis or water stress. That is one. Suppose you have not had any first-hand experience any time, because you can think of a time when you had it, you can think of a place where you had it, or if you have not had any of that first-hand experience, can you think of someone you know who experienced it, or someone told you about their experience? Okay, someone you heard about the experience. So I want you to just answer that question, because it's very important to really.
Yeah, can I answer this before I leave?
Yeah. Please.
When I was growing up in Chennai in the 80s, we had severe water crisis.
Right.
Once in a day, we had to pay for the government. Even those days, private tankers were very less.
Right.
So even the government tankers used to take turns going to colonies once in 2 days or 3 days.
Okay.
So to at least ensure a supply of once in 2 days, we had to pay the drivers, we had to pay the local representatives to get the water tankers. And then there used to be a lot of wastage, people fighting near the taps, and lots of spillage and lots of issues.
Got it.
That's when we got together as a colony and said we will give cards to everybody.
Right.
Depending on the number of people, how many we had this plastic those days.
So that I want to pause, pause you there, because you're talking about the solution. That's okay, but I wanted to focus on that experience that you had of having to order the water and pay for water and fight for water.
It was a horrible experience as a child.
That is exactly. That is.
We were given half a bucket to wash. I mean, brush and take bath and wash all in a half a bucket of water.
Exactly. So that is your first-hand experience of what a water stress looks like. Okay, great. Can someone else, one of you tell about your, or it could be of someone you have heard about having experienced? Raina?
I'm living in Dwarka More currently. So the water supply, the Delhi Jal Board water supply is not regular over here.
Okay.
As well as but still we get on regular times, but a few colonies apart, if we go from here, so some of the my father colleagues, so they said that there is an issue with the water supply, and they have to wake up in the early mornings, otherwise they will not be able to get the water. So there's a problem, and they have to use groundwater resources, which is not technically
possible,
right,
because they don't know how to do it. Or technically,
and it's not legally right also.
They have restrictions now. Yes, there is regulation now to, you can't.
But still, I think there are many places over here.
Yes.
People are using, and I can see in front of some buildings in my home, as I'm studying water science and governance in my college, and nothing like it's just not related to my studies. It's just from my childhood in my home, that we are always water like we are always cautious. We are always cautious, and we always close the tap, and everything is really so my parents are very strict, and they always advise me. So I am because of that, I have the thing that I will try to become a good environmental citizen.
So where is your home, do you said?
In Dwarka More, ma'am. Nearby Nevada, Janakpuri West, if you know.
Right. Because of, that's where you've grown? That's what you're saying? You've grown up there?
Yes, ma'am. I have grown up in the Tilak Nagar belt, but we have shifted around 2 years back.
So because of that experience, you become more conscious, right? More cautious. So this is very important to, get people to either, share their first-hand experience, or even experience someone else they have seen or heard from. That's important. Madhvi, would you like to say something about your experience, if you had any? Are you there, Madhvi? Okay, so looks like Madhvi may not be attending. That's fine. So yeah, so this is something. Then the next, another open-ended question you can ask and get people to think about is, if you have experienced or you know about someone else's experience of water stress or water crisis, what do you think, for example, again, putting into in your own situation, what may be stopping you from taking a water conserving action? It could start even by saying, I don't even know what that action is. Okay. Or it could be, if I know what the action is, what is stopping me? So I want to ask Raina, what can you reflect on that question? That, what could be stopping you because you have a situation, a water crisis or water stress, what is the thing that stops you?
I have mailed to Delhi Jal Board some members a few months back.
Okay.
But yes, I have not
yes. So it's very interesting what you said about, that you have written to the Jal Board, because this is another thing that I'll talk in the next clarifying questions, because we believe that, Delhi Jal Board should be doing something about it, right? And that's not uncommon, and that's not nothing wrong with the thinking, but you really need to understand, clarify. I want to clarify that in the next part.
Yeah. Right? The governance part, yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
we need to start by ourselves, yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that's a very common thing that also prevents you, actually, because you believe that someone else to do it, then you don't think about that you need to do something, right? So that is where the dissonance comes. The second question, another question to ask is, what would help for me? What would be useful for me to take? What would encourage me or make me take the action?
Bhakti, I wanted to answer the second question.
Sorry, I thought you gone. I didn't. Please tell me. I'm keen to hear. What is stopping you from
the government of Telangana, or at least in the Hyderabad,
right.
The GHMC is providing free water.
Right.
For an entire year, if you feed your Aadhaar,
right.
link
So
your
that is
Aadhaar
stopping
with the
you.
water meter. This has been applied for ensuring voters are staying faithful with politics. They have been giving us free water supply for years now.
Right. So are you
saying 3,000, 4,000 rupees worth of water,
right.
I'm getting for free.
Yes.
So why would I be interested in saving?
Yeah, understood. So that is your
I really
reason.
agree with whatever Muthu sir is saying, because the same thing is happening in Delhi itself. We are getting 2000 liter of water free of cost.
Correct.
And therefore people are misusing that. Like I am, what I do is sometimes I go to I click their bells and I go their homes and say that your water is flowing on, and they're like, who are you to tell us? So
Bilkul. True.
So
very important point, and very also very sticky one. Very difficult to solve that. Okay, that's very important. So therefore, in the answer, what you could say is that what is going to help me or someone else to take.
Not only water, this freebies concept should be stopped by the Supreme Court. Then only our country will improve.
Yeah. So that is one answer, that what could help is actually not having that rule is going to help me take action. That is one. But then what, any other, suppose if it was a situation where there was no free water, just open-ended question about what else could help to, like, putting yourself in a situation or thinking about someone else.
From the Andhra Pradesh perspective, where I have spent some time there also, every alternate day there is a water supply. Everybody have their own small drums to fill the water.
Right.
Where there is no possibility for underground sumps and all that. People used to take from the tap that is supplying the water. And they used to fill all the vessels and drums. In the kitchen, there will be few vessels for drinking water. And then there will be drums for other usage.
Right.
And the next day, half of it they would have used. And the third day, when fresh water comes again, they will pour all these things down the drain.
I was going to say that also tends to not conserve. It actually tends to more wastage. So that is a problem. So we are talking more about what is going to help, what could help people, conserve. Just open, like brainstorm. It's not
telling them that a day-old water is not bad water, and it is not sewerage, not to throw it away.
The same thing over here. The concept is they are saying, people are saying it's basi water.
Basi.
What do you mean?
Yes, and they still. And after saying that, they take water from under the borewell, which is million years old water.
Yes, ma'am.
So, but apart from the fact that, yes, that could be that more making, removing the misunderstanding is one thing. But yes, talking about yourself, let's focus, what if I was doing, even Muthu, you may be doing already some actions, but what is it that more you could be doing, but what could help in making you do more than what you're currently doing in terms of water conserving?
So honestly, after taking your assessment,
yes,
water assessment, water scorecard assessment for the house, I could pinpoint where wastage of water is happening, whether it's happening in the kitchen or it's happening in the bathrooms or it's happening in the garden.
What Muthu is saying, which Raina you'll soon get introduced to, is that actually getting to know where do I need to even save, right? Look, if someone was to tell you, right now you don't even know where do I, how much am I wasting? Do you even know? How much are you wasting? You may know I may be wasting, or I don't even know if I'm saving, I'm wasting.
So I think the first concept should be, we cannot improve what we cannot measure. So first thing is we should measure.
At least, so that is one, definitely it will help. One, that is not, I'm not saying that's the only thing, but that is one that could help. So in Jal Smruti, we have arrived at that, okay, let's start at least telling people exactly what they're doing. That can help them, because we're not preaching. We're only telling you that this is what your situation is. Now you decide, your decision, it's your decision, right? So that's, so this is what I'm talking about. Moving people from information, knowledge, education to contemplation. Like, can we, this is an idea that, can we even measure? Because that idea doesn't come. Yeah, you were saying something, Raina.
Sorry, ma'am, I was saying that when I started this course, so Mansi Bhagava ma'am, she is teaching us a subject. Yeah. So she the first thing she gave us an assignment on was water footprint. Yes. Like, what is the water footprint of your foods you are intaking, and what are the things like you have in your closet, the things you are wearing. So I think that really we need to understand that where the water is being used first, and then we can take our further steps to conservation.
Yes.
So like when I started looking over this water footprint of my closet thing, I was like, oh my God, what is this?
I'm buying so many clothes.
Then I'm advising to my mom and everyone, mom, don't buy clothes from now on. We are already wasted so many liters of water. So, mom is like, oh no, I should not have given permission to make her into this water science course.
No, very true. So what the way we are thinking at Smruti is that, like, oh yes, virtual water is extremely important. You have to think about it and make people sensitized towards it. But then when it comes to taking actual action, yes, the one which is immediate, is your own water use, correct? Yes, you have to mind your food intake and which food is taking, sugar is taking a lot of water, or and personal things, you have to definitely there. But in terms of what about your own, like you maybe stop buying clothes and you're splurging water in your bathroom. That is also not good, right? So we have to start where we can actually see water. Start with water where it's visible. Virtual water is hidden. So yes, you have to, next is, sensitizing you towards that. But in terms of actually saving water that's directly in your control, is where, is about saving the visible water. Okay, so that is where we want to start, and then move to virtual water, right? So that is the progression we try to make. Then the next thing is to really ask clarifying questions. Why clarifying questions? Because then, like, why do I have to do something about it? Why is it me? Right? Because some things are right now, if you meet community, they'll say, government should be doing something about it, right? Also, they'll say, all we need is some infrastructure. We just need better infrastructure. We don't have enough infrastructure, good technology to solve the water crisis. We can desalinate seawater. We have atmospheric water generator now. That's what we need. But what needs to be clarified is, government right now is under so much pressure. They have no capacity, no financial capacity. Physically, everything is all network has been built, right? The old network has to be pulled out. We can't do it. So there is a lot of issues that the government is currently facing with the centralized way of doing things. So that is why even government has admitted, and they have created policy which says community to take ownership. They have to create the system, smaller systems. So this is a clarification that you need to do when people are coming up with these statements. Okay.
So government is nothing but the people. We have elected the government, especially at least in a democratic country.
Yeah, but then the policy, yes, exactly. So then, but then ultimately there is a feeling that also prevents you from taking action. That it's not my job; it's government's job. That needs to be clarified. That it is no longer possible. It is absolutely. It's a.
So one of the things that our facilitators' mindset should be.
Yes.
We are the government.
Yeah, but then no, that is a philosophically correct statement, Muthu. What I'm saying is, in terms of once someone has been handed over the responsibility of water, you expect them to take action. So we are talking about short-term, how you can move to taking action yourself. So yes, government is me, but then there's a government who has the power which you don't have. That is, in that sense, people have a feeling that Jal Board should do something. Okay. So to help them to move from that thinking, you need to clarify. You need to give clarification in terms of reality. The reality is that it is not possible, physically possible to do anymore. And that is why even the policies, government, you have to point out, government policy is also being moved towards, at least in the rural area, they've already moved towards that community takes ownership. Urban, it has not yet happened. It has already happened in the rural areas. So that is where the trend is. Future of water everywhere is community has to start taking ownership. That is the reality. So come to the reality. That is the reality already happening. Okay. So that is one. Second is about desalination of seawater. Why can't we desalinate? What would you answer for that? How would you clarify that? Any idea? If someone says, we have a lot of seawater and we have desalination, why can't we just use that technology and solve the problem?
Both of these are very costly. Atmospheric, seawater, desalination. They are very costly and they fail miserably everywhere.
Yes.
In India at least.
Yes. One is that desalination of water, it takes a lot of energy. Secondly, on coast, yes, it may make some sense if you are able to save the energy input. But then what about water supply? How are you going to carry that water? You need to carry also the water, no? You can not what about the inland cities, inland towns, right? So it is not a sustainable solution. You cannot have seawater as the only source because it takes a lot of energy to make fresh water out of it. Atmospheric water generator, the problem is it's a very small quantity that generates. Again, it is also, both of them are driven by extractive mindset, that you extract, you extract the water and you dump it. That is the mindset. So you don't want to move into that mindset of linear supply, linear way of using water. Then another thing is that we just need to pump a lot of money and we'll solve the water crisis. As if money.
It is not still sustainable. That feeling should.
Yes. So the idea, and you'll hear at even the big talks when they do, they say we just need to pump some capital. We don't have enough money to build infrastructure. So that's what is the problem. No, only pumping money in what? What are you going to pump money to? That is also important to understand. If you're going to pump money, then pump money into retrofitting the existing buildings, doing decentralized solutions. Don't pump money in the older infrastructure, linear infrastructure. Pump money into circular infrastructure, right? So this is clarifications you need to be ready to do and anticipate these statements and these questions. Another, of course, people are now, humans are capable of solving any problem. And if we run out of water on Earth, we can just bring it from Mars or Moon. That's another one people are moving towards now. It's laughable, but people seriously talk about it, right? So again, you have to, if you ran out of water on this planet, how soon are you going to run out of problem on Mars and Moon, right? So this is something kind of removes some of the barriers and the myths in the people's mind to create the space for intention that future is about me having to do it. Slowly or surely, just know that this is the reality. And we talk about it in a very tangible, factual way. Give people evidence to talk about, and and explanation, the scientific explanation to clarify these become mental blocks ultimately, right? So this is important. Then coming to the getting ready for the next, you wanted to say something, Raina? I saw your raised hand quite late.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please go ahead.
I wanted to say about the desalination plant, like they're releasing the brine water,
right,
and dumping it into the Gulf, the sea itself,
yes,
and which is disturbing the
marine
ecosystem.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. So it's not sustainable in this way. Yeah.
Yes, it is not sustainable from that perspective also. That the impact of that brine solution. Of course, there are ways people are trying to move to crystallization of it, and but they may have solutions for that. But again, it's not a sustainable one. So so this, in terms of I've come almost to the end. So what we are doing now is that we have created this little action-based little, like a bingo game. Okay, so we call it Water Conservation Ambassador Bingo. So you become an ambassador once you've ticked off all the boxes. Okay, so Raina, for you, you've gone through the pre-reading material, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so you tick that. Then you have to take the quiz. Yes, there's a quiz I put on. I don't know if you've taken it. So then a live class was another one. Now the next one is, and you can of course take any of them, but I am just putting it in order. So taking a family water scorecard is something you'll do after the session. Okay, there's a link. This link, when you click, it takes you to a form, and it will ask you questions about your own home and water use. So you can answer, and you'll also ask you to measure some flow rate, and it'll tell you, a short video explains how to do that. So you please go through it, allow yourself some 20 minutes. Okay. And if you have someone at home, take their help. So it'll be fun. And once you fill and submit the form, you will immediately get an email with a scorecard saying how much water, where you're using how much water, and where exactly you can save and how much you'll save. Okay, so take that. Then once you're ready, so this is what is already kind of brought you to a position where you actually become intentful, intentional, and also ready for action. Now you can start facilitating. So you can have one session, facilitated session for family. What does a facilitated session mean? It just means not something complicated. You can take a video from that slide deck, the pre-reading slide deck. You can play the video and have a discussion about it, right? It doesn't have to be a long session. It can be short sessions. And the idea is that, you ask those questions after the video, ask them what they think. And, the open-ended questions that we shared, ask them to talk about that, talk about the clarifying questions. And again, then take them to the scorecard, ask them to take a scorecard. So that's a nice start. So once you've done with your family, you'll get enough, kind of practice. So you can maybe share with some of your friends or neighbors, very close friends or neighbors, that, hey, I want to do a small session. And you can do that. Then you move to, a larger group. So basically, once you've done some of these facilitated sessions, then you truly have become a water ambassador, water conservation ambassador. So your journey begins from this live class, but take it step by step. And, we would ask you to, whenever you're holding this session, take a picture, okay? Take a short video asking them, what they did, what the participant did, how they liked it, and upload it. So that way we know you've done a session. And if you've done another session, do the same, like take a picture of ask someone to take a picture of while you're doing the session, and, ask people their feedback about what they thought, and then all the sessions should end by asking people to take the scorecard and share the link so they can just take it at home, right? So once you've done that, then we will, you're ready to receive a certificate that you are truly a water conservation ambassador. Any questions? Because it's the very first training we are doing, first session we are doing with you, Raina. You are the founding cohort, you can say.
No, I have no question yet.
Yeah, any comment or anything that
I think I've already done most of the bingo items except taking the quiz perhaps.
Okay, please, that pre-reading quiz, and also, but then of course you have to share the pictures because we are doing it with evidence.
Okay.
So try to do another one, maybe, just to get the certificate, right? So as I said, facilitating is a very simple session. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can share the slide, you can share any video or any set of slides you choose to. It doesn't have to be all of them, and have a discussion, have a chat, and also try to ask those open-ended questions, clarifying questions, and take them to the scorecard. So do you think, Raina, you are up for it?
I am up for it, but the social gathering part is a really hard one for me.
But that's like a last step. Don't worry. Start with family, and once you do one step at a time, you will get more and more. When I say social gathering, what I mean is it could be, like, I don't know, you part of a club or something.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Yeah, exactly. You can say, hey, next time I'm going, just give me 10 minutes and I want to show you a short video on water, right? Something like that. We'll give you the tips how to, mobilize them. But first finish these, and then we'll give you the guidance on to every
easiest way is instead of mobilizing, whatever we are part of a club or a community or an apartment.
That's right.
Just go and talk in the meeting. That's it.
Yes, but
take
then
5 minutes and talk in the meeting.
And also ask for a time in existing meeting. You don't have to create a new meeting. It is about getting saying that giving them enough advance notice to say, hey, can we do next time? Can we give 5 minutes or 10 minutes for doing a water conservation session? People love it. People
whatever we are doing, we can add to it. I've been talking on waste management. Now I have started talking about water also for 5-10 minutes.
Exactly. You just add to what you're already doing, right? That's a very good point. So that's basically it, Raina. Welcome to the Water Ambassador family. Okay. So as I said, it's a start. It's a start of the journey, not the end. And take small steps at a time. And we are there. Anytime you need any help, you can DM me, right? And we can help you. Okay, so you DM on the number where you get the group message from. So from there, it will be forwarded to whoever is the right person they can answer. Okay.
Okay.
Great. And slowly then one thing we'll add is then you start to, kind of help other new ambassadors when they are asking some questions. So like that, we build the community slowly. Great. Thank you so much. And yes, one last thing before you go, and please put your camera on. If you can just share, some key takeaway or your experience in 1 or 2 sentences, that will be really good. Please put your camera on and then do it.
Can you stop sharing screen?
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. What's happening? Just a minute. Let me also. How do you pin it? How can I pin? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Rana. You're on mute, are you? You have to turn your camera on.
Okay. So I really like the how it's the courses, and I like the part where I came to know a new thing about the Telangana Harita Haram program, which I was not aware of, as well as the Bangalore. I was a little bit I know about the Bangalore situation, but I really came to know about that. The how much distance is far from the source, and like 140 kilometers it's away from the source, and how much they're charging for it, for the water, for the water thing. So so that's the newest thing for me, and yes, I really like how it's the courses.
Okay, and the next question is, are you feeling up for being, are you feeling ready to take the further actions to become the water conservation ambassador?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I should do that. Yes, sir.
Yes. And so you maybe talk about that a little bit, like what's your plan? What action are you planning to take first in that bingo, which you have not yet taken?
I have done the quiz part, but and the learning part also. I need to do the society level work, like how I need to.
No, there is also the family water scorecard.
The family, yeah, the family one. I will definitely do that also, and actually I am already I have already done that in my home.
In where on the same one?
Sorry.
Did you do the same family water scorecard or some other one?
I have just talked to them about this, like the scarcity.
No. I'm talking about the scorecard you have to take. No, I told you have to go and answer some questions that you'll.
Yeah. Sorry. That I have not done, but a little part I have done.
Yeah. Sure. So, but then I not a formal session where you've taken picture, and also you're sharing what you learned in this session, right? So that is something you need to have a session with your family. Okay, any member of the family or members. Okay, so because there are some videos. So the science behind the water crisis, is that something? Was that something new for you, or you already kind of knew?
Actually, I'm in this field, so I kind of knew, and I wanted to know more. Therefore, I signed up for this.
Yeah. So, and also as a water science, master's student, is it covered in your syllabus about the water cycle restoration?
Yes, sir. We were talking about this day before yesterday in the class itself.
Very good. Yeah. That's very good. It's important because now because it's a science course, we are you are including that. That's important. So and also the community doesn't know that as a student, So sometimes we think because we know, everyone knows. That's also a wrong feeling. So it's important to then actually talk to the family. Just because you're learning in masters doesn't mean they cannot know. Because that's something that we think that it's a master's thing. It's not for common people, right? That has to go away because the more we become more plain English, language, you can explain things, the better it is. And also the whole thing about climate change is not about only carbon. The more we talk about it, and it's not enough knowing, we need to talk about it. Because knowing and not talking about it means like the whole narrative around us, we only hear carbon, because those who know that water is also part of it, they don't talk about it, right? So it's important that we bring it out in the open conversation with the community, okay, not just with the peers. Great, thank you so much, and all the best. And also, even though the time extended, you stayed back. Fantastic, thank you. So keep us, as I said, every step take pictures and post. If you want to get that tag of the water conservation ambassador. All right, all the best. Because doing a master's in water and not doing anything about the literacy actively means I feel there's need now more for action. Yes, we need to qualify ourselves and get degrees, very important. But if you're not really talking to people, you're not doing enough for water. That's the reality. That's why we are doing what we are doing. Okay, great. And Madhvi, I just want to check, are you there or not? Because no idea. You're
yes.
there. Great.
Yes.
Can you please, did you miss anything? Were you there for the session?
Ma'am, yes, like for some 15-20 minutes of the talk I missed, but I will definitely enroll for the next session and I will cover it up in.
Okay, great. And what are you doing? I didn't get to know about what's your current situation. You're working, you're studying, what are you doing?
So yes, ma'am. Actually, I am a working professional, and I am working as a consultant with a sustainability firm.
Okay.
And so the major focus there is on the climate change. But as you rightly said, that climate change is not only because of the emissions. It's water conservation is also very key area where where the focus should be put upon.
Yeah.
So.
Great. And so Madhvi, one of the things I'm trying to close the thing by is sharing that you, like, is there any comment or question on what you experienced today? That's just one thing. Before we close, we need to know. We need to get
no, ma'am. I think the session was very enlightening, especially the part where you put up the graphs and the metrics around Hyderabad and Bangalore cities, and also you propose some solutions like retrofitting the cold fixtures to save the water, and also the rooftop water harvesting management programs. So I think all of those were very helpful.
Great. So that you found. So in fact, I would say that we have developed a tool which gives people a clear understanding. Just like, have you taken did you hear about the family water scorecard action you have to take, the bingo? Did you see the bingo I shared?
The last slide was there in which all those
some actions you have to take as to become an ambassador, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So anyway, you are going to attend one more session. So I think that's okay. I don't want to dwell too much on that. So when you take the session, you'll learn about that. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So thank you, Muthu. If you're still there, I want to say thanks for attending and making the conversation interesting.
Yes, it's the retraining, relearning for me.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Okay. Bye.